There are moments in life when your peace is not shaken by what others do to you, but by what you allow. There are invisible boundaries that, when not defended, turn into chains. And the most dangerous thing is not the harm that others cause, but the damage you do to yourself by tolerating it. Carl Jung said that what you deny masters you, but what you accept transforms you. And today, we are going to open our eyes to these attitudes, gestures, and behaviors that you should never, under any circumstances, accept from anyone. Because every time you tolerate something unacceptable, you not only give up your power, but you also betray your own essence. This video is not just a reflection. It is an urgent call. Because if you don't set boundaries, the world will cross them repeatedly. Here, you will discover the 10 unacceptable behaviors that silently undermine your dignity and how to avoid falling into that game. Stay until the end, because what you will learn today can change the way you respect yourself and how others respect you. Behavior number 1. Constant emotional manipulation. Manipulation is not always explicit. Sometimes it disguises itself as concern, as affection, with the excuse of, "I do this for your own good." A manipulative person doesn't need to shout to control you. They do it with silences, with gestures, with small phrases that seem innocent, but are designed to make you feel guilt, insecurity, or dependency. Phrases like, "If you loved me, you wouldn't do this. After everything I've done for you, you're exaggerating again." All of this is a form of psychological distortion that seeks to make you doubt your emotions, your judgment, your memory. And the worst part, it makes you believe that you are the problem. Carl Jung warned that the soul gets sick when what is felt is repressed, and when someone constantly invalidates your feelings, they are sowing a deep emotional imbalance in you. No one has the right to make you feel guilty for having boundaries, for saying no, for thinking differently. If someone needs to manipulate your emotions to get what they want, that person doesn't love you. They use you. Accepting emotional manipulation is allowing them to clip your wings and, on top of that, apologizing for not knowing how to fly. Behavior number 2. Repetitive disrespect disguised as, "It's just a joke." Respect is not asked for. It is commanded with dignity. But many hide humiliation under the mask of a joke, criticizing you in public and then saying, "Oh, don't take it so seriously, it was just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." And you smile, you laugh, although inside something breaks. And every time you don't react, you are training that person to continue disrespecting you. Jung spoke of the shadow self, that unconscious part where we hide what we don't want to see, and often we allow this type of mockery because we tell ourselves it's not a big deal. But it is. A relationship, whether romantic, family, or friendship, where you can't be yourself without being ridiculed, is not a healthy relationship. It is a scenario where respect has been replaced by sarcasm and true connection by the fear of speaking openly. Respect is the foundation of every bond. If there is no respect, there is no bond. There is only a power dynamic where one subjugates and the other allows it. Learn to set boundaries without fear of losing people, because whoever distances themselves because you set a boundary never deserved to be close to you. Does what you heard so far seem revealing? If so, consider subscribing to the channel and stay with us until the end. because what we will cover next is even more profound. The knowledge that transforms is the kind that makes you uncomfortable. And today, we are touching on fibers that have remained silent for a long time. Behavior number 3, excessive control over your decisions. Control is never love. Never. A person who loves you wants to see you free. Free to decide, to think, and even to make mistakes. But there are those who disguise control as protection, telling you what to do, what to say, how to dress, who to talk to, and all with phrases like, "It's for your own good," "I know what's best for you," "I don't want anything bad to happen to you." Do you know what all these phrases have in common? They nullify your judgment, your power to choose, your right to make your own mistakes. Carl Jung said that an individual only develops when they take responsibility for their own destiny, and no one can evolve if they are chained to the will of another. Control doesn't always come with shouts. Sometimes it arrives with silences, subtle threats, and emotional punishments. And the more you tolerate it, the smaller you become. Allowing someone to control you is erasing your identity in slow motion. You are not here to be directed. You are here to build your own path, even if it's difficult, even if it's costly, and even if no one else understands it. Your life is yours, and whoever doesn't understand that should not walk by your side. Behavior number 4, indifference to your pain. One of the most subtle and damaging forms of emotional neglect is not insult, but indifference. When you speak from the heart, when you open your soul, when you confess something that hurts you and the other person simply ignores you, changes the subject, looks at their phone, sighs as if they were bored, or worse, says, "You're exaggerating. This same topic again? I don't have time for your dramas." This coldness affects more than 1,000 shouts, because it not only denies your pain, but it denies your emotional existence. Jung said that the most terrible thing is to be ignored by someone whose attention you deeply desire. And he was right, because indifference is not the absence of love, it is the presence of disdain. You do not deserve to be heard out of pity or obligation. You deserve to be heard out of respect, out of connection, out of a real bond. To accept indifference is to accept that your emotions have no value. And this not only destroys your relationship with the other person, but also your self-esteem. If you have to beg to be heard, you are not with the right person. Where there is love, there is genuine interest in what you feel. Where there is indifference, there is an emotional distance that is no longer healthy. Behavior number 5, veiled threats. Not every threat sounds like a bomb. Some come in whispers. "Do this, or I'm leaving. If you don't change, you'll see what happens. The choice is yours, but you'll ruin everything." This type of phrase is psychological pressure. It is a form of coercion, and we often tolerate them because we believe that love should hurt, that it is normal to be afraid of losing the other person if we do not meet their conditions. But this is not love. It is manipulation in its purest form. Carl Jung spoke about the power of the unconscious, of how childhood patterns repeat in adult life. If you were raised in environments where affection was conditional, it is likely that you will repeat this dynamic in your current relationships. But that does not mean it is right. Authentic love does not threaten, does not condition, does not say, either you do this or I'll leave you. Accepting threats is teaching the other person that they can rule you by fear. And no one, absolutely no one, should have that power over you. You deserve bonds where decisions are made with freedom, not with fear, where conversations are resolved with maturity, not with pressure. And before we continue with the next behaviors, I invite you to share this video if you know someone who needs to hear this message. Maybe that person doesn't say it, but silently they may be enduring things that are draining their vitality. This message could be the spark that awakens them. Behavior number 6, minimizing your achievements and devaluing your progress. Nothing is more frustrating than fighting for your goals, making an effort, growing, and receiving a cold, sarcastic, or indifferent comment in response. Anyone can do that. It's not that big of a deal. You were just lucky. This type of person does not celebrate your progress, does not acknowledge your victories, does not push you to move forward. On the contrary, they hold you back, make you feel that what you have achieved is small, irrelevant, useless. And the most insidious part is that they often present themselves as realistic or objective, but the truth is that what they feel is envy, because your growth reminds them of everything they don't dare to build. Carl Jung said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But the opposite is also true. Everything we celebrate in others reflects our level of inner security. A healthy person, happy with their life, applauds your achievements, is happy for you. A hurt, frustrated, and empty person attacks or diminishes them. And if you allow someone to constantly dim your light, you will end up believing that shining is wrong, that dreaming is arrogant, that improving yourself is selfish. You do not have to hide your light so that others do not feel overshadowed. You were not made to fit into someone else's insecurity. You were made to grow, to inspire, to expand. Whoever cannot stand your brightness does not deserve to accompany you on your path. And whoever loves to see you grow will never try to diminish you. Behavior number 7, total lack of self-criticism and responsibility. One of the most toxic and destructive signs in any relationship is the inability to admit one's own mistakes. That arrogant attitude of, I'm never wrong, of justifying everything, of always blaming the other. When a person lacks self-criticism, every conflict turns into a battle where you always lose. No matter what you say, what you prove, what you demonstrate, that person will always have an excuse. I reacted that way because of you. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have exploded. This is how I am. Take it or leave it. Do you know what this attitude reflects? A deep emotional immaturity, the inability to see one's own shadow. Carl Jung explained that no one becomes enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making their darkness conscious. And whoever cannot look at their own shadow lives by projecting it onto others. To accept living with someone who never acknowledges their mistakes is to condemn yourself to a life of apologizing for what you didn't do. It is to live carrying others' guilt. It is to get used to justifying the unjustifiable. Emotional responsibility is the foundation of any healthy relationship. When someone makes a mistake and admits it, they show maturity. But when someone makes a mistake and still blames you, they are breaking the bond at its root. You are not here to be anyone's scapegoat. You were not born to carry the emotional wounds that others refuse to heal. Respect begins when someone is able to say, "Yes, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm willing to change." And it ends when all you hear is, "It's your fault, always your fault." Do you see how these behaviors are like a silent poison? If not detected in time, they become part of your normality, but they don't have to continue to be. Today is the moment to awaken. Today is the moment to say, "Enough." If any of these truths has touched your story, share this video. And remember, what you allow repeats. What you confront transforms. Behavior number 8. Invasion of your personal and emotional space. There is an invisible line that defines who you are, how you think, what you feel, what you dream. This line is called intimacy. And when someone crosses it without your permission, when they meddle in your decisions, in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your time, it is no longer closeness. It is an invasion. Why didn't you tell me this? You shouldn't feel that way. Show me everything you do. You have to tell me everything, otherwise you're hiding something. This type of control doesn't always seem aggressive. Often, it comes from a supposed total trust. But the reality is that trust is not built by spying, invading, or pressuring. It is built by respecting. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process by which a person becomes who they truly are, separating themselves from what others expect or demand. And this process is only possible when privacy is protected, when there is space to think, feel, make mistakes, and heal without being constantly watched or judged. Tolerating someone invading your personal space is not synonymous with love. It is a sign of a silent loss of identity, because every time you give in more, you are left with less autonomy, less clarity, less strength. A healthy relationship respects silences, accepts spaces, understands that to love is not to possess, but to accompany, that being close does not mean being on top of someone. If someone needs to know everything about you to feel at ease, they are not seeking a connection. They are seeking control. And if you accept this dynamic, you are renouncing the most sacred right you have, to be yourself, without explanations. Whoever truly loves you respects your inner world. They don't need to invade it to know they are a part of it. Behavior number 9. Emotional instability that is constantly unloaded on you. There are people who live in a permanent emotional chaos. One day they hug you tightly, the next they ignore you coldly. One day they admire you, the next they despise you. And you, caught in this back and forth, end up walking on eggshells, not knowing which version of the other person you will encounter today. This type of relationship consumes you, exhausts you, makes you live in a constant state of alert, not because you are unstable, but because the other person does not know how to manage their inner world and projects it onto you. I'm not in a good mood. I don't have to give you explanations. You're the one who upsets me. This is how I am. If you don't like it, you can leave. And you end up doubting your own sanity, your worth, your stability. Carl Jung taught that what is not made conscious manifests as destiny. And whoever does not take responsibility for their own emotional storm drags others into living in their disaster. To accept living with someone who does not regulate themselves emotionally is not compassion. It is self-sabotage. It is accepting a life of shocks, of tension, of fear, disguised as love. You are not anyone's emotional therapist. You are not here to absorb wounds that are not yours. You deserve a relationship where emotional stability is a priority, not an exception. Real love does not keep you confused. It does not make you doubt every week whether you are important or not. Real love is not a roller coaster. It is a stable path where both build, grow, and support each other. If every day you feel emotionally exhausted by someone, you are not in love. You are worn out. And that, in the long run, destroys you. Do you realize how all of this is not just annoying attitudes? They are silent attacks against your well-being, your identity, and your dignity. And each one you tolerate weakens your soul a little more. If this content is opening your eyes, share it. Someone else might need this truth as much as you're hearing it today. Behavior number 10. Contempt for your values, beliefs, and life vision. There is no greater silent betrayal than sharing your life with someone who despises what gives meaning to your existence. Your values are the foundation of your identity. Your faith, your principles, your ideas, your purpose are what sustain you when everything else crumbles. And if someone attacks, ridicules, ignores, or mocks them, they are not just attacking what you think, they are disintegrating who you are. You believe that? How absurd! You're too idealistic. That's useless. Your way of seeing life is foolish. You're going to end up alone with that mentality? At first, you might justify it, think it's an unimportant difference. But over time, this repeated contempt erodes your confidence. You start to doubt what once gave you strength. You start to betray yourself, to please others, to give up your vision so as not to be judged. Carl Jung said that he who looks outside dreams, but he who looks inside awakens. And you cannot awaken if someone is constantly dimming your inner light. You cannot evolve if every step you take towards your essence is criticized, halted, or nullified by those close to you. To accept that someone despises your values is to accept living divided, smiling on the outside while breaking on the inside. And no one can build a full life from the renunciation of their truth. It is not about thinking alike. It is about respecting, about allowing the other to be who they are without wanting to change them, about supporting even without fully understanding, about taking care of what is sacred, even if it is not shared. Love is not proven by happy moments. It is revealed in how one treats the other when they think differently, when they believe in something different, when they dream in other colors. If the person by your side needs to crush your essence to feel comfortable, that person does not love you. They are molding you to their convenience, and that, over time, becomes an emotional prison that damages your soul from within. You did not come into this world to please. You came to be, to shine, to create. And whoever truly loves you not only allows it, they celebrate it. This last behavior is not the most visible, but it is one of the most destructive, because when you disconnect from your values, you disconnect from yourself. There are emotional wounds that do not bleed but are felt. There are blows that leave no physical marks, but they scar the soul. And often, These wounds come from what we decide to tolerate in silence. You don't break on the day someone shouts at you, abandons you, or fails you. You break on the day you say to yourself, "This shouldn't be happening, but I can take it." That is the instant your heart begins to surrender. Jung taught us that the greatest enemy of transformation is not darkness, but resignation. It is the acceptance disguised as patience, that surrender disguised as love, that submission disguised as understanding. But there is a truth you need to remember. You're not obliged to live in conflict to keep the peace with anyone. You are not here to sustain bonds that destroy your worth. You are not here to be strong while others weaken you. You are here to flourish, to grow, to be. And being requires courage. The courage to say, "I do not accept this." The courage to stand up when you have been humiliated. The courage to leave when they have made you feel small. The courage to choose yourself, even if it means losing someone else. Because what you do not confront chains you. What you tolerate defines you. And what you allow today becomes the standard for your tomorrow. You don't need to give speeches. You don't need to convince anyone. You just need to look at your reflection in the eye and say, "Enough. My soul is worth too much to continue being given away in pieces." And that decision, that internal affirmation, changes everything. Because when you change, the world you tolerated no longer fits with you. It crumbles, it breaks, and that hurts, but it also frees. Today, you don't need to make noise. You just need to become aware. Ask yourself, what have I been tolerating that I know deep down is harming me? What behaviors are pushing me away from who I really am? And when you know, let go. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just let go. Because when you let go of what destroys you, you make space for what builds you. This is not the end of the video. It is the beginning of your awakening. And if something you heard today has shaken your foundations, if it has touched your story, your pain, or your past, then you have already taken the first step to see clearly what you used to call normality. What you do with this clarity is now your freedom. If you have made it this far, it was not by chance. It was because something inside you no longer wants to live on excuses, no longer wants to silence what hurts, no longer wants to accept the unacceptable. Now you know what you must cut off, what you must not allow, what you must never again remain silent about. Do something with it. Do not ignore it. Do not postpone it. Life does not wait, and every minute you spend tolerating what breaks you is a minute you lose building what heals you. Share this message with those who need to awaken. Subscribe if you want more content that not only informs, but transforms. And always remember this: your peace is priceless. Your dignity is not negotiable. Your soul is not to be begged for. We have reached the end here, but the real change begins now, within you.